This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It's episode number 16. I'm Tom Albano, and along with Nick Federa. And we have some breaking news to start off this podcast.
Yes, indeed we do, because we keep saying that the NFL will not keep surprising us with news, and it just so happened that about 10 minutes ago, the story broke that Aaron Hernandez, who is the disgraced former Patriots tight end, who is currently serving a life sentence over the 2013 murder of his friend Odin Lloyd, trial for a different double murder that was committed, I think, years prior to that. He was just found not guilty of that double murder.
Yeah, I'll read it right off from NESN's website. A jury on Friday on acquitted former New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez for a 2012 double murder in downtown Boston. Hernandez has been found not guilty on 2 counts of murder for the shooting deaths of Daniel De Abreu and Tefiro Furtado at a traffic light in Boston's South End in July of 2012. Had Hernandez been convicted of the murders in the first degree, each charge would have come with some mandatory life sentence without parole. Hernandez was actually cleared of all but 6 of the charges he faced, including the 2 murder charges and witness intimidation charge. He was convicted of unlawful possession of a firearm, and that charge comes with a 4 to 5 year sentence in prison. He actually, according to these reports, was crying in the courtroom shortly after the verdict was read. And as you said, he's already serving a life sentence for Odin Lloyd's murder in 2013. So as much as this is a not guilty on 2 different people, it doesn't change the fact that he's in prison for life now.
Yes, and as much as I would, my gut reaction when, laying eyes on this story was, oh, shades of OJ. I got to remember, he's still in prison and he's not getting out. Right.
So regardless of whether he did this crime or not, the new double murder charge he was found not guilty on, it doesn't change the fact that he's a murderer and he's fucked up in the head and he's fucked up his chance with the NFL.
Yes, an unrepentant piece of shit, and he will never see the light of day as long as he lives.
Right.
And I'm sure Patriots fans would agree. Well, the same ones.
Sure. I'm sure they, fine with him in his playing days, and then once all this shit started way back when, I think they were probably kind of relieved. Like, it started to become a thing, I don't know, similar to like our teams where it's like, oh God, can we get rid of this guy? Can we get rid of this guy? Oh, finally he's gone. He was such a headache.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but we weren't podcasting. I mean, we didn't even, when he was sentenced to prison actually over this, and
right.
We found out, over the Odin Lloyd thing, that he may have actually pulled the trigger himself. I wonder, it's a question that was more suited to when we were talking about this a couple of years ago, but since we weren't podcasting then, we didn't even know each other then. I feel
right. No, we didn't know each other then.
I feel like it.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. We got some more breaking news on the NFL. Marshawn Lynch and Raiders agree to terms on a contract. Seahawks still hold the running back's rights pending a trade to Oakland, per Michael Silver and Mike Garafalo. Ladies and gentlemen, it is almost official. Marshawn Lynch is almost a Raider. We are one step closer.
Beast Mode is heading to Oakland and then possibly heading to Vegas. Although, do you think he's going to stay around long enough to actually make the move to Vegas? Because that's not happening for 2019, right?
It's not happening for another couple of years. I don't know, man. I mean, how old is Marshawn Lynch anyways?
31.
Didn't we say he did talk about it. He was 31. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Because part of me wants to say once you start thinking of the R word in sports, it's time to get out. But on the other hand, it's like what we were talking about a couple weeks ago. It's like, but what if he makes that comeback and he does well?
That's the key, because I'm starting to think that I don't know what his reasoning was for retiring in the first place. Was it a personal grievance with the Seahawks? Was it he was just he was just physically tired of the grind of the season and needed a break?
I think so. I think that, because keep in mind the season before he retired, he was out for 9 games or something like that with injury. His body was probably just so banged up, especially on a team that does a lot of running, like the Seahawks.
Yeah, I would, and he definitely was a key piece of their. I don't know if you want to call it a dynasty, but they did win a championship and go to another one. So, and they've been
right.
Contenders.
And they would have won that second one had they given the ball to him.
Had Pete Carroll had his head not completely disappeared up his own ass. But that is a story for neither here nor there. But the thing is, 2 questions come to mind.
Okay.
2 questions come to mind. The first is, it's more of a skills question. What do you is this something to just drum up, a bone to throw the fans of Oakland before you actually kick them in the dirt before you leave the door, before you walk out the door to go to bed?
I don't know, because this sounds more like something Marshawn Lynch wants to do. This is something he wants, and he has said he wants to play for the city of Oakland because that is his hometown. He said as much as he was with the Seahawks and had all the success in that, he primarily, he would only accept playing for, Oakland because it's his town.
So he would come back, but entirely on his terms.
Pretty much.
And I can definitely imagine where it would make sense for the Raiders to bring him in on a purely economic, as in merchandising level. I mean, think of all the beast mode in Oakland black and silver shirts you're going to sell, and caps and hoodies and stuff like that.
I showed you last week or 2 weeks ago that Marshawn Lynch's web shop has that stuff.
Yeah, that was last week you did that.
Right.
The second question is, because I was watching NFL Live yesterday, and they were talking about all the paperwork that Marshawn Lynch is going to have to file.
It appeared. I think we were talking about it on Tuesday or Wednesday. He had started the refiling process.
So it makes me wonder. Maybe the NFL could have something almost like, instead of retiring from the game and making these players jump through hoops when all they want is a season off, maybe you could come up with something like a hiatus clause to make it a little bit easier and less strain organization-wise.
I feel like there is something like that, but I just don't know. I feel like there is something because there is. I'm trying to look this up. This is what I have in my phone right now that I'm reading is a story about BJ Raji, I believe it's pronounced.
Yeah.
He took a hiatus for the 2016 season. So I'm trying to figure out what that would do, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly that entails, because a thing in a local paper didn't say that, but let me see what would happen. I can't find a thing I feel like there needs to be something specific, like what you were saying, something specific that says. Because my only thing about this actually is going back to the BJ Raji thing is Raji said he was going to sit out for the 2016 season. And then last month the report came out that said he's still going to be on hiatus. So my only concern is a player who goes on hiatus will eventually, retire without coming back.
I'd probably, if I was putting something like that together, I'd probably have a loyalty clause saying that hiatus lasts more than 2 years, it's technically retirement, and therefore the appropriate paperwork would need to be filed. But if it's just something that you need to take a season off to heal or to deal with personal issues, get your head on straight, what have you, then that's where a hiatus clause, I think, could potentially come in handy. But, I don't run the NFL.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I can't find anything about a hiatus clause like you were saying, so I feel like that's what the NFL's got to do. Maybe I like that. I like that little hiatus clause, only because the NFL is that kind of sport where maybe a hiatus clause isn't that bad. Like, it might be needed.
Yeah, and you think about when baseball players tend to play until there's nothing left in the tank. You see guys walking out in their early 40s, late 30s, and they play until they physically cannot do it anymore. Football players retire at, a seemingly, younger age.
Right.
But
like 33, 35, maybe even 30.
You even look at Calvin Johnson.
That's true. Marshawn Lynch.
Exactly. He's only 31. You would have thought with the kind of, the pomp and circumstance of him hanging up his cleats, I initially thought that he was a lot older.
So did I.
But I'm just, that's only because I'm an idiot. But what I'm saying is that maybe, it's not like it could come in handy because this is not without precedent because this always happens.
Right.
It's not like in baseball where, players retire, they stay retired. For the most part.
I was going to say, for the most part. I mean, that's true. NFL did have the little Brett Favre thing. NBA, we had Jordan trying to play baseball for a couple of years before returning.
Yeah, basketball is actually another sport that could actually use something like that. But
yeah.
But then again, I don't run things. I mean, thank God I don't, because I would run that into the ground so fast your heads would spin.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. Hopefully that's all the breaking news of the NFL we have to deal with for this episode.
Yes, indeed. I got sidetracked. We were talking about breaking news, and then we got sidetracked by more breaking news. Oh God, you can't stay out of the cycle for what, 5 days? Not even a week?
I guess.
But
yeah, my phone is blowing.
What?
My phone is blowing up with like a group text with all my friends, and it's like, can't believe Marshawn's actually coming back. It's getting more real by the day.
And you know what? That's why they have those news releases, because they know they can get that kind of reaction out of us. Right. Where your phone can blow up because Marshawn Lynch is going to the Raiders. But in any event, we got some baseball to get to. Actual baseball instead. Just off days everywhere all of a sudden.
Exactly. I mean, Yankees, they were struggling at first, and now they've won 4 straight now.
They've won 4 straight. They are 1 game over 500, currently in 3rd place in the AL East. Not that the standings mean jack shit in this early part of the season.
Right, entering Friday. Also entering Friday, Toronto Blue Jays 1-8.
Wow, that is.
They have lost 6 straight.
God, we're not even 2 weeks into the season, and already I'm eating crow.
We're both eating crow.
Yeah, we both thought that they were gonna just rise to the top and shoot to the top of the standing like unto meteors. But I don't. You know what? I guess that's just baseball for you.
And Atlanta 2-6. Let's see who has the best record right now. The best record actually is, I believe, a three-way tie right now. 3 teams have 7-3 records entering Friday, and that would be the Arizona Diamondbacks of all teams. But they actually have some good young talent.
Yeah.
Of all teams, the Cincinnati Reds is somehow 7-3.
Wow.
The Cincinnati Reds. It's still early, but hey, little hope for Joey Votto.
You know what? Every little bit helps. I mean, they're in Cincinnati. What else you got to root for? The Bengals? Nobody wants that. Not even Boomer Esiason wants that.
The Atlanta Braves, since this is since we said entering Friday, that night is actually their home opener. They're at, what's it called, SunTrust Park?
Yeah. I was just gonna call it Cobb County Stadium, but I know that's not the name.
Cobb County. I still can't believe Turner Field is only 20 years old and it's already extinct.
Yeah, you could. Well, you know what you could call. You know what you could call the new digs. You can call it White Flight Park. That's what you call it.
And the other team that's at 7-3, the New York freaking Mets.
Who fucking thought so? Also, who fucking thought that they were going to be pummeling their opponents offensively, as we've been seeing? Yoenis Cespedes already has 6 home runs, and like I said, we're not even 2 weeks into the season. Because he had 3 home runs against the Phillies the other night. Granted, right. It's the Phillies, but it's mind-boggling either way.
I mean, yeah, let's see. They took 2 from the Braves. They lost 2 to Miami, and then they ended up sweeping the Phillies, and they're playing a second game against Miami, and it's a 4-game set. They already have 1 win. I mean, this is just wow. I mean, like, I expected good things from the Mets. Heck, you went as far as to saying they would win the division. I thought they would just win a wild card, but I don't think we expected things this good this early.
Yes, and they won last night in 16 innings, and at the time of this recording, but like I said, I wasn't expecting them to out-hit their opponents. I mean, I don't think anybody was.
Not really. I mean, I think credit, like you said, got to go to Yoenis Cespedes for his amazing day. All I can think of is from freaking class on Wednesday. And then on the sports report we read.
Yeah, because we were all, context for those who were not there, all of us were pretty much, because it's a pretty fair assortment of Yankee fans, other than another student and the professor. Most of us are Yankee fans. And, most of the assignment was to do a game write-up, almost like a beat reporter would.
Right.
And most of us picked Michael Pineda. In fact, you were the only one who picked a Yankee game that was the game before that.
Right. But there was somebody who picked that certain Mets game where Cespedes had 3 home runs, and his lead was the most phenomenal thing I've ever read in my life.
Yes, he actually, and I did not know this, since Yoenis Cespedes' walk-up music is the theme for The Lion King,
you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. Actually, I
really?
had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of things I had no idea about, in the lead of his story, he actually took the African lyrics, the Swahili lyrics to that song, and then translated them into English. Meanwhile, we're all looking at this lead. It's like, wait, did we just have a stroke? Is that English?
I thought he typed up his report drunk.
Yeah, and the professor thought that too. It was the funniest damn thing I'd seen all day.
That's great, man. That was phenomenal.
But that is neither but the burning question here. Obviously, we've seen the Yankees make tremendous improvement from where they were this time last week, and we've seen the Mets make great strides to being a well-rounded team. But do we discount all this progress because it's so early in the season?
I'd say don't discount it. Just don't take it to heart 100%. I mean, you want to get off on a good start of the season, but every team has its ups, every team has its downs, every team has its hot streaks, every team has its cold strides. You really just, you can't take this 100%. Like, oh, the Mets are 7-3. That means they're gonna, end up winning the division. It's still early. I mean, all these teams are separated by only a few games each. I mean, Washington's still 5-4. That's still a fine start. Even though Atlanta's 2-6, don't discount them. I mean, I would even go as far as to say don't discredit Toronto with their 1-8 start, because you never know when they could turn things around and when teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox can go cold.
Yeah, and as you said, you can put faith into this, but don't put too much of your cheering power behind what you see.
Don't make it a guarantee, and don't put any money on it.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be like the two of us eating crow, and nobody
or
wants
eating
that, folks.
Well, would you rather eat crow or humble pie?
Well, considering I've eaten a lot of crow and I've eaten a lot of shit, I would rather eat humble pie.
Probably. Well, like we were talking about how the AL East is going to be a competitive division. Baltimore heading into Friday 6-2. Yankees and Red Sox 5-4. Tampa Bay is 5-5. There you go. They're all even already.
Well, let's look ahead to see what the Yankees got going this Easter weekend. So they've got a 3-game set. They started into league early this year, and they're going to do a 3-game set at the stadium against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Correct. On Friday, we have Masahiro Tanaka. Oh, God, help us.
Oh, God, somebody get me my blood pressure medication.
And starting for the Cardinals, hey, in the words of Fozzie Bear, Waka Waka.
Michael Waka.
Michael Waka starting on the mounds for the Cardinals. Let's see what else we got. On Saturday, it'll be CC Sabathia. Hopefully he gets another quality start, taking on Carlos Martinez. That actually should be a good pitching matchup. I hope that's a pitcher's duel.
Yeah, because I don't know much about the Cardinals really at all, because I never get to see them. So it'll be interesting to see. But on Sunday,
and then Sunday,
but who was he going up against? Pineda?
Mr. Pineda. I think that's going to be a pitcher's duel.
With the near perfecto that he had his last start, just give me a good game. You don't have to give me genius every time. Just build on that.
Actually, Wainwright's been struggling a little bit. I don't think it'll be a pitcher's duel. I think I'm more like you now. I just want a good Pineda. It's like we discussed this in class with our sports speed writing assignment, and we discussed this last week or 2 weeks ago or something. Why can't Pineda just be a good pitcher all the time? Why does he have to be this Jekyll and Hyde pitcher?
Consistently inconsistent is how I put it.
Right, that's the word you use.
And I feel like, you know what it is? I feel like when he makes a mistake, he has the tools, he has the stuff, he has the work ethic. But if he makes a mistake, he tends to spiral, because it's, I'm not going to screw up. Oh, God, I screwed up. Oh, God, I screwed up again. Oh, God. It snowballs. It is an incrementally rising thing. And I think it has more to do with him not being able to adjust when his mechanics are out of whack or when he makes a mistake. I think that has more to do with it.
I could see that. I could see that being the reason. I think that pretty much is the reason. I feel like he's just got a... like the psychology of pitchers, I mean, even if it applies to major league pitchers. Like when you're young, that stuff kind of happens and you can get rocked easily mentally. And I think that doesn't change when you get to the majors.
Yeah, let's not mince words here. Pitchers are head cases. They are. Mm-hmm. They are crazy. I mean, so much when people say that a lot of baseball is mental, they're talking about pitchers. Because
especially pitchers.
Yeah, so much of offense is reflex and strength. So much of pitchers is, he's not in my head, 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 he's in my head. Oh, God!
That's a unique...
Randy Johnson when he was with the Yankees starting in 2005.
Oh, God. Randy Johnson was... No, but Randy Johnson was a good starter, and, he was fine with the Yankees. It's just, and sometimes he was like Pineda, consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, we had... I'm sorry for dredging up painful memories, but that was... It was something that bared repeating.
High expectations, all to go down the toilet.
Oh, boy.
That was that 2005 team. Just high expectations that just nothing could come out of it. Let's take a look at some of the other series we got going on this weekend. We got the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs in a 3-game set. They're actually playing their first game as we're speaking. Pittsburgh just tied the game at 2-6. We have the Philadelphia Phillies and Washington Nationals. They're playing a set, and their first game just got started as we were talking. We got Baltimore and Toronto. That should be an interesting matchup, especially the Friday night matchup where it's Wade Miley against Aaron Sanchez.
And God, we see a lot of we've seen good and we've seen bad out of Wade Miley.
Detroit and Cleveland playing a set this weekend. The Mets are playing Miami this weekend, as we discussed. Tampa Bay and Boston playing each other. We got Archer and Porcello Friday. We got who we got on Saturday? We have Odorizzi and Sale. And Sunday we have Cobb and Pomeranz. I feel kind of bad for Chris Sale because it's only 2 weeks into the season. Pitchers have only had 1 or 2 starts. But already it seems like this Red Sox team, it's going to be like that White Sox team where they're not going to score enough runs for him.
Yeah, that's going to be I'm starting to think that's going to be a consistent issue with Chris Sale. Whatever team he goes for, maybe he might have pissed off a gypsy or something.
Maybe he just... I don't know what God has him. Maybe he sinned so bad that God just
said, you know what? No more run support for you, asshole.
If Boston somehow does make it, it's going to become an Angels in the outfield thing, where it's like championships can only be won on the field. God can't help you.
I actually like the Angels in the outfield. I don't know why nobody.
Same. I love that movie. Let's face, and plus George Knox flipping on his players at the beginning after they lost, and they lost to the Blue Jays.
People like to give a lot of props to Samuel Jackson when he loses his shit, but Danny Glover's very, very good at it. You're a jackass. I'm a pitcher. You're a pitcher and a jackass.
I love, but I just also love the beginning of the rant where he just flips over the table at food and he just goes, "One more loss.
Yep,
one more loss. That could have been a win. You call yourselves professionals."
That was your Danny Glover impression?
I think I'm more off of the movie.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. But in any event, it's going to be a good weekend of baseball.
Absolutely.
For us to watch, and it's going to be.
One more matchup that there's mentioning. I think we got to mention as we're discussing. It's going to happen later. It's the first game between the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. It's Greinke versus Kershaw.
Oh my!
I want to see that. I want to tune into that. That is going to be unbelievable. And then this podcast will go up after that game, and it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, just watch that happen. Not only do the people hosting the podcast have to eat crow, the podcast itself has to eat crow too.
Oh, God, I hope not. You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, or the Undetermined Podcast Network. Let's talk playoff hockey.
Yes, indeed. Playoff hockey. The thing that you didn't realize was actually here until it actually shows up and you're going, hey, how did I forget about that?
And probably, I apologize to baseball, and I love the big game of baseball so much, but playoff hockey, probably the best playoffs there is in sports.
Yes, indeed. And since we're trying to get some other voices onto the Unspoken Podcast, so we'll turn this into a 3 or 4-way shout fest to see if we can get some perspective on somebody who is much more knowledgeable in the game of hockey. Well, since he works for NHL itself, I don't think there's anybody else better. Well, we're still trying. No promises, folks, because we're still trying to work that out.
I was saying, we're still trying to get people, Nick. But yeah, we would we always joke about how we need analysts. Like when I think there was an issue that came up weeks ago. I'm like, we need an attorney to, we
do. We need legal representation.
Right. No, I mean, I forget what story it was, but there was something, I guess it involved a major crime or something. And it was we need a lawyer to come onto the show and break down everything in human terms. What does this mean? What happens if this happens?
I can't even remember what that was in reference to. Oh,
I think it might have been. Was it when what's his face was arrested, or we thought it was arrested?
Rivas?
Yeah, I think it was the Rivas thing.
Rivas back in February. Yeah, that was probably yeah.
I think it was the Rivas thing. But yeah, playoff hockey. We got an interesting looking playoff chart. We have the first round matchups. It's the Rangers against the Canadiens, the Bruins against the Senators, the Penguins against the Blue Jackets. We've got the Capitals against the Toronto Maple Leafs, St. Louis Blues and Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, Edmonton Oilers, Nashville Predators and Chicago Blackhawks, and Anaheim Ducks, a.k.a. Quack, and the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I knew there was a Mighty Ducks reference in there somewhere. It had to be lurking somewhere in the background, but I knew it was going to show itself at some point.
I don't know. It's just at this point, the reason why I call him Quack is because I have a friend from undergrad who, for some reason, roots for them. It's not even. I think it's because of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. That's the only reason why he roots for them. It's a hockey team.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. But you know what? Go ahead. But in terms,
right? No, but I'm saying, I'm a Rangers fan. A couple of my friends were Devils fans or Flyers fans, and then there was him, who's a Ducks fan. It's where do you come from?
So really, he's the square peg in the round hole. Is that what you saying?
Him or my other friend who is a Blackhawks fan, claims to be a Blackhawks fan for as long as he loved hockey, and I still call bullshit to this day.
What, you think he's actually secretly a fan of
I think he's a bandwagoner is what I think.
Aha! That is definitely interesting.
I think he's just hopping on the Blackhawks bandwagon because they're, one of the best teams in hockey year after year now. But yeah, I was watching the Rangers game against the Canadiens on Wednesday night, the first game. Why can't the Rangers play like that more often?
Why indeed? And see, the thing is, there is so much potential there. I mean, they're a paper team because things should work, but when you put them together, the engine just backfires and flames just seem to spit out the exhaust pipe, and not in a good Fast and Furious kind of way.
I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, 31 saves. And I mean, Carey Price had a good game too, but one goal, and it was a 2-0 game, but the second goal was an empty netter. But one goal, and of all people, it comes in the first period, and it's Tanner fucking Glass.
God on high, Tanner fucking Glass. The answer to the question, hey, does nepotism actually work if the coach and the player are not related? Yes. It's just shitty. It's shitty line making, and I don't know why I don't know why he because he struggled all year, right?
Basically. But here's my question. Where was this Henrik Lundqvist in the regular season?
Exactly. It seemed like over the course of the regular season, you had Antti Raanta making pretty much the big saves in the big games.
Right. Which is why I said a couple of seasons ago when Cam Talbot had to come in for the season to save the season, get the Rangers into the 2015 playoffs, and then Henrik Lundqvist just took over from there. I'm like, no, that's not a good move, and you better re-sign Talbot, and now he's with Edmonton, and he helped that team.
Yeah, well, he'll help any team that he can. He's that kind of goalie, but
right.
Even though somewhat contradictorily, I would say that despite Lundqvist's struggles in the regular season, he's a different goalie in the postseason. And
that's true.
He goes, the Rangers go.
Well, let's just hope for that. Let's hope this first game was the reemergence of good Henrik. And I think another thing to keep in mind is I feel like the Rangers need to just put their heads down. Well, keep your head out because you don't want to get ran to the boards, but still, just play hockey because the Canadians look to be making this a physical series. They still hold a grudge from 3 years ago when Price was taken out in the Eastern Conference Finals thanks to Chris Kreider. And, they still hold that grudge and they want to get physical.
You wouldn't think Canadians would actually hold grudges.
Are you trying to be stereotypical?
Maybe. Look, I've already made my denim is Canadian tuxedo jokes, my allotment for those kinds of jokes for the year. So I'm kind of grasping at straws when it comes to Canuck jokes.
Come on. That's supposed to be left unspoken.
Oh, yeah, see what you did.
Boston and Ottawa. Boston actually won the first game 2-1. I feel like that can be an okay series, Boston and Ottawa. Pittsburgh and Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, I expected their first game. I expected this series, to be a series. But, man, Pittsburgh destroyed Columbus in the first game. 3-1. And all 3 Pittsburgh goals in the second period.
And you know what? It goes back to a larger point about the way playoff hockey is. It's not that you lose; it's how you lose.
Right. I mean,
because it can be a close loss, but you can have good feelings depending on how you played that game. But
right. I mean, I got to give credit. Like Washington defeated Toronto 3-2 in the first game of their series, but I got to give credit to Toronto because they actually managed to take Washington to overtime. They took Toronto, one of the last teams to make it into the postseason, took the President's Trophy winners, to overtime.
Yeah, and which caused certain Capitals fans we know personally to have heart attacks.
St. Louis and Minnesota, 2-1. I mean, man, that game I also watched. Minnesota really deserved to win that game. But, I mean, I don't know if that's more of a case of Minnesota won the game or St. Louis lost. But, I mean, St. Louis, they were – I'm sorry, what's his name from St. Louis, the goalie? Jake Allen. Jake Allen deserves a medal from the team for what he did in Game 1. San Jose Sharks, Edmonton Oilers. San Jose won 3-2 in overtime. I mean, Edmonton had 2 goals right off the start. They took a 2-0 lead into the second period, and then San Jose got 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and 1 in overtime. I mean, that sucks for Cam Talbot. I'm sorry, Cam. You deserved better. Of all teams, though, Nashville defeats Chicago 1-0. Credit to Nashville. Credit to Pekka Ren, 29 saves, and Arvidsson with the goal in the first period.
Or Pekka Pine, as I like to call him, because I'm 8 years old.
Pekka Pine. I mean, Chicago got off to a bad start, and then Nashville's offense pretty much disappeared in the second and third. But I guess it was enough. Pekka Rinne's performance was enough.
I think you did it. I made you do it. That's why I did that.
Pekka picked up Pekka pickled peppers.
Oh, God. This podcast is going off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. We've lost our minds.
I'm calling him that from now on. Pekka pickled peppers.
Exactly.
And I can only hope that Nashville ends up defeating Chicago in a series. That would be a miracle, and that'd be amazing. And last but not least, Anaheim defeated Calgary 3-2 in Game 1. We're about to get the Game 2s and all the series. And, I just love playoff hockey.
Because it literally anything can happen from game to game.
Absolutely. And how about we end this with some NBA? I mean, their playoffs are about to start too.
Yeah, even though, the basketball news in New York has basically been dominated by the Knicks sucking for so long, it's just, it's nice to actually see big boy teams doing big boy things.
Oh, Nick, I just read the top news story on the NBA. Should we do it? Should we play it? Play it?
All right, play it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Let's see. Let me get the music ready. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go to the circus.
Yes, indeed, it's circus music because we must be talking about the Knicks, right?
Well, yes, but I'm like, you know what? As much as we can go through the NBA brackets, let's just peek at what the top story is. And it is the New York Knicks, unfortunately. I don't want to spend too much time on this shit, but apparently Phil Jackson says Carmelo Anthony would be better off somewhere else.
Let's file that under no shit there, Phil. I mean, is there no? I mean, it's the advice he gives out is either blisteringly obvious or so brain-bendingly obtuse you would find that in a fortune cookie and go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
How about instead of he's better off elsewhere? How about just get us a good fucking team for once?
You know
instead of promoting a super team who ends up being shit.
Jesus H muffin basket. I mean, these people can't even tank the right way.
Also, Derrick Rose with another injury, go fucking retire, please. I'm sorry.
Which brings me to my initial theory that it's nice to actually have big boy teams that know how to do big boy things with big boy basketball. Adults actually taking the court. And not just a basketball owner that moonlights as a fortune cookie writer that had an aneurysm in front of his typewriter.
Where do you come up with this? Where do you come up with this shit?
It is. Like I said, it's so. See, the thing about being centered is it's not always, but it's also see everything because the sky is full of clowns and there's rubber lederhosen that's on fire in every single place in every single eventuality in the universe. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. No.
If we do a best of episode, those lines are going on it. I feel like we need to do a best of episode, like 1 week where we take a week off, just put some of our best lines in.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills with this team. I know what I said made no sense, but honestly,
this team makes no fucking sense.
Up on his Twitter feed, would you have batted an eye?
I don't know. This whole team didn't make fucking sense this season. You remember that song from a couple years ago? Say something, I'm giving up on you. That's how I feel about the team.
Yep. But as far as what we can expect with good basketball, though,
we got playoff basketball. Indiana Pacers and Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland actually lost the 1 seed. Cleveland will play as a 2 seed.
So are they mortal?
I think they are mortal. I don't think the Indiana Pacers are the team that bring them down, though. I have Cleveland in 5.
I would take them in maybe 5 or 6, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them lose.
It wouldn't surprise. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if Cleveland swept as well.
So the burning question with these playoffs, as much as it was last year, is how long is it? Well, going into the playoffs, at least last year, everybody kept thinking, okay, how long is it going to take for the Warriors to actually win? To win everything, even though that actually didn't end up happening thanks to the Cavaliers.
Right.
But seeing as how the Cavaliers are mortal, can we actually have a rematch? And can they?
I don't know.
Can they pull it off again?
I don't know. And at the same time, part of me doesn't want to.
You don't want what?
I don't want a rematch.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, God, I'm already sick of the Warriors.
I've been sick of LeBron James for years. I mean, I respect him and he's one of the best, but it's just he doesn't need another trophy. He already has 3. He's been in the last 6 finals.
Well, he's already God and Sonny Jesus in Cleveland, so because he did what no other major professional sports team has done in Cleveland in 50 years.
Pretty much.
But I do respect LeBron, but
it also wasn't without betraying his team first.
Yeah, but I just get the feeling, and you know what? Crow-eating alert here, but I get the feeling that we're biding time until the Warriors go back and reclaim the finals trophy.
Let's go through the rest of the first round. Milwaukee and Toronto. The loser's going to get eaten alive by either Cleveland or Boston, so this shit doesn't matter. But I have Toronto in 5 or 6. Memphis and San Antonio. I have San Antonio with a sweep, in all honesty.
Yeah, everybody expects them to do it because.
Well, it's not the set, but I mean, you have San Antonio, who's 61-21, second in the West, against Memphis, who's 7th in the West, 43-39. Memphis had an okay year. San Antonio had a phenomenal year.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And then Utah and LA Clippers, both 51-31 teams. I'm gonna have the Clippers in. Clippers is 7, 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Atlanta and Washington. The loser will probably be eaten alive by, Boston or Cleveland. Probably Boston, because this is a 4 versus 5. But I actually am going to have Washington pick this in 6 or 7. I think Washington is actually going to advance for once.
Wow, we can actually trust, and we can actually expect John Wall to do something.
I think so. I have a little faith.
Basket of potential anymore?
I have a little faith in the Wizards. Not much faith, but a little faith.
And sometimes that's all you need.
Portland and Golden State. Let's see. You have the team who's first in the West, 67-15, against a 41-41 team who just made it in. Ha! Sweep.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a sweep sound. Chicago and Boston. Normally, I would say this is a great series, but you have Boston, who's first in the East for 53-29, against another 500 team who's 8th in the conference. I have to say sweep. If the likes of our good friends Rose and Joakim were still on Chicago, maybe I'd say 5 or 6, but no, sweep.
Okay. All right. You know what? I am doing what I should have done, and just what I should have done even earlier in this podcast, and just abstain from predictions, like I said I was going to do. But then I went back on my word because I'm an idiot.
But we're almost done. We just have one more series to go through, and that's Oklahoma City and Houston. And that one I'll take 47-35 against 55-27. I didn't realize Oklahoma City actually did, not as well.
Yeah, well, that team is basically just Russell Westbrook and.
True. I'll give Oklahoma City some credit, but not enough. I say Houston in 6.
Yeah,
maybe 5 or 6.
I would say. Because never count out James Harden, because he will always he and his magnificent Ramses beard will always seem to surprise people.
Pretty much. And that's going to do it for episode number 16 of the Unspoken Podcast. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We're at the UDUP. And go like and follow all the other pages of all the other Undetermined Podcast Network pages, from UD Breaking on Twitter and Unknown and Uncloned on Facebook and Twitter. Go listen to their podcast, by the way, Unknown and Uncloned. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. I'm Tom Albano, and for Nick Federa, this has been episode number 16 of the Unspoken Podcast. We'll see you next week for episode 17. You've been listening to the Unspoken Podcast for the Undetermined Podcast Network. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.